Hey guys, it's Josh again, and I figured we could go over what's in my pack. I had the camera set up, had the pack out, figured what the heck, let's pull it out and see what's in there, and show you what I put in my lightweight pack. So, as I've told you before, I love my North Face Verto 26. It's awesome. It's like a 26-liter pack. It's small, it's lightweight. There's no frame to it. The padding on the shoulder straps is minimal, and I was able to strip it down to being really lightweight. I don't know, like 5-6 years ago, I got into the lightweight kick. And it's really made a difference in how I backpack and how I enjoy the woods. So right off the bat, of course, you're going to see my poncho on the outside. I love my wool poncho. I picked it up at Goodwill or the local thrift store actually for like $5 a few years back, just because I thought it was unique, and it turned out to be one of my best pieces of outdoor gear. It's a wool poncho, so it's natural fibers, keeps me warm when it's wet or it's cold outside. It fits nicely under my plastic poncho for rain gear, works well for a camp blanket. It adds thermal to my sleeping bag if it's cold out. If it's a warm night, I can sleep in just my poncho. It's such a versatile piece of gear that it's becoming a permanent establishment in my pack now. So I guess we can start with the brain. I put all the stuff I need throughout the day in the top of my pack, so it's easy to get to. Of course, just extra pieces of cord. Lord knows what you're going to need them for, but you will need extra pieces of cord. Toilet paper in a waterproof bag. Easy to get to. That's important. You'll understand someday. The Ben's 100% DEET for those pesky mosquitoes and ticks, as well as a butane lighter. There was a time in scouting when I did the one match thing and the flint and steel thing. Now I really prefer the butane lighter, especially because of my cook system, and I'll show you that in a minute. A compass, knowing how to use a compass and having a compass is crucial. I also wear a compass on my watch. I think it's important to know where you're at in the woods so you can get out if you ever get lost. Maps help too in that instance, or being familiar with where you're at, knowing which way you have to go to get to a city. That does help. I chew gum a lot, so I always bring a pack of gum or two with me. And a hacky sack in case you get bored and want to screw around once you get to camp. Honestly, I'm not sure I've ever played hacky sack in camp, but I still carry the damn thing with me. I don't understand. All right, so next is inside the pack. So the first thing we're going to get to that comes out is my water bladder, my platypus water bladder. Simple, easy. I like the bladders over the bottles because they're lighter and they get smaller as they get emptier, right? They don't take up the same amount of space when there's nothing in it. Where your water bottle, where your Nalgene water bottle stays big, takes up space. So I go with the platypus. And as you can see, mine's been abused and used, but it still works just fine. My Shemog, again, a versatile piece of equipment. Actually can work as a triangular bandage, so it's kind of my first aid kit, as well as my head cover, an extra blanket, all sorts of things. I use it to take pots off the fire. A very versatile piece of equipment. It's cotton and not wool, so if it gets wet, it's not going to do much for thermal value like my poncho does. So I keep that in mind, and I make sure to keep that in mind. Next, we've got my titanium cup with my titanium spoon and my chia seeds. What else we got in here? Oh yeah, and coffee. Can't go in the woods without chia and coffee. Chia tends to be my breakfast. It's really simple, doesn't require a fire to cook, has some carbs in it, has some protein in it to get you going for the day. Lightweight, packs a nice punch, good vitamins, so I love chia for on the trail. Let's see what else we got. My water filter. So water's crucial. There was a time in the world where you could drink out of anything and all was good. That's not anymore. You absolutely need a water purifier in the woods. Make sure you get a good one that handles viruses and bacteria, because you never know what's floating around in the water. I picked this up a few years ago, and while it's heavy, it is an effective water filter. It does filter out viruses and bacteria. That was one of the reasons I bought it. Back when I bought it, it was one of the few on the market that did. Now there's lots of them out there. I tend to avoid the iodine tablets, the ultraviolet lights. I think the actual filters are the only ones that really have the 100% guarantee that you can pump out of a puddle and still drink it. So iodine tablets can give you the runs. The ultraviolet lights, if the water's cloudy, they're not going to kill the bacteria. There's so many ifs, ands, or buts about them that the filter is really the only way to go. Let's see what else we got in here. Aha, my titanium stove. So I used to carry a fuel stove, but I wanted to go even lighter weight than that. And here I'm below tree line and I'm able to have a contained fire in the woods. So my titanium twig stove works great. It allows me to use twigs to control my fire. Last time I was out in the woods, I did have a little bit of challenge and I couldn't get this guy working. It was a little bit frustrating and I ended up just building a fire in the fire pit and cooking off of that. But it works most of the time, I'll say. What else we got going on? My rain poncho. A lot of folks like the fitted rain jackets. The downside is they don't cover your pack and you can't use them as a ground cloth. I like multi-purpose items, so my rain poncho also becomes my ground cloth when I get to camp and set up my tent, or my shelter half actually, because I don't carry a tent usually. Speaking of which, my shelter half, which is really just an ultralight backpacking tarp. I use my hiking poles and some extra pieces of guy line to set up a shelter in camp. Sometimes it works, most of the time it works, sometimes I get wet. Yeah, you live with it. Usually I'm not out in the woods when it's ultra cold, so getting wet isn't as bad as if you're camping in, say, late fall, early spring, where hypothermia can get you. But you do need to know how to set up a shelter, various shelters in different environments if you're working on a shelter or working with a shelter half. So keep that in mind before you just head out with one. My air mattress. So it's crucial to insulate yourself from the ground to stay warm at night. No matter how warm your sleeping bag is, if you're laying directly on the ground, it's going to siphon or it's going to seep the heat right off of you and you're going to get chilled and it's going to be a very miserable sleep. What's nice about this is the NeoAir is not only ultralight, but you blow it up. And so you've got a cushion underneath you and it makes for a little bit more of a comfortable sleep. And comfortable sleep in the woods is paramount to having a good time. When you're sleep deprived, hungry, cold, tired, you tend to get kind of grouchy. So I try to focus on getting a good night's sleep when I'm out in the woods so I can enjoy the rest of it and deal with anything that might come my way with a level, calm, cool head. And the last piece, my sleeping bag. So I spent a lot of money on this guy, and I think it's worth spending a lot of money on your sleeping bag. I wanted an ultralight pack, and sleeping bags tend to make up a large portion of your dry pack weight, right? And take up a lot of space. And what I wanted was a small pack that was lightweight. So I went to REI and I said, hey, I want a small pack and a lightweight sleeping bag. And they said, well, we got just the thing for you. And it was the, oh God, who makes this? Oh yes, the Inferno. I think it's, who's the brand here? Kelty. So the Kelty Inferno. And it's meant for, spring to fall camping. It's rated for EN 16 Fahrenheit, so we could survive up to 16 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not going to be a comfortable sleep, but you can survive, right? And then they gave me the option of dry down or normal down, regular down. And I went with dry down, and the purpose of dry down is it's specially treated down that if it gets wet, it'll still maintain its loft and keep you warm. Since I went lightweight, I removed a lot of the extra things in my pack that could accommodate an unforeseen event. And when I did that, the items that I had to be good enough to keep me alive if things went wrong or went unplanned. And so so I think spending the extra money on a good sleeping bag is really important. You could think of I could think of 100 different scenarios where, geez, if everything went bad, I could always wrap myself up in my sleeping bag and my tarp and wait out probably a blizzard. Honestly, it wouldn't be fun, but you'd probably survive if you played your cards right. So, and that is the end of my pack. So what I see a lot of the top 10 things in my pack, or what I carry in my pack all the time, that's what goes with me in the woods at minimum every time I go out for an overnight event. It's nice to keep it packed and ready. It's kind of like a go bag. When somebody calls me and says, you want to go camping? I can be like, yeah, let's bounce. So, all right, until next time, have fun, get out there and adventure, enjoy the woods, enjoy the people around you. Be well.